What's up, everybody? This is RGB Radio, and it's a little bit different today. Just me and my young buck friend right here, Steeven Toor, master of
Young
the
mans.
West of Canada. So we have this banda today on the show, and we're gonna talk about Uproar. We're gonna talk about all the stuff that's happening around the world, especially that comes with like racism and stuff. I think the Bill 21. If you guys don't know, we'll talk about that and our movie that's coming up, Uproar. But first, before we start off, I'm gonna let Steeven let us know about Brame. Brame is his organization out there in Calgary. So let him know, man. What you doing out there, bro? What kind of Gandhi guys buying out there?
Bro, let me put Calgary on the map for a second.
Do it, bro. Do it.
I know y'all here in Brampton wildin', but Calgary on the map too. Northeast Calgary, shout out. # Northeast Calgary.
Not gonna
strong.
lie, bro. When I went to Northeast Calgary, I was like, yo, bro, this is like essence of Brampton's here.
Yeah.
I felt good there.
Yeah. It's your element. You got the same Punjabi families, Punjabi vibes, desi pizza.
For sure.
So Prem, Punjabi, resilience, empowerment, and mental health. We started this organization about 3 years ago now. And we started this organization after we had a series of young individuals take their own lives. So we started questioning what kind of infrastructure is out there for our youth to healthily deal with stress, anxiety, their problems, and what's currently in place. What can we utilize to bring these resources to our community? I don't know, man. Just having been educated here in Canada, I felt like we owed it to our community to go out, find those resources, get that network and communities and all those resources back to where we needed them most. So, we started this project from scratch. We got endorsed and sponsored by Bell Let's Talk, Calgary Foundation, and that put us on the map, man. Honestly, after that, we got an opportunity to put together some phenomenal events in Calgary. We did an event where we had noise, Geerthkor. We showed our director's cut for Uproar. And we had an art gallery on mental health. And shout out to Sagar Gurewal, the boy.
Yep, Sagar, bro. Shout out to
the boy wonder. Shout out to Sagar Gurewal, Jasmine Johal, Simona Singh. And these guys are my core, my rock. And, it wasn't just a one-man effort, but our team in Calgary is so strong. So all the volunteers, shout out to everyone that came out and actually helped us out that night. But, honestly, we've been honestly trying to, this organization is just about making waves. How can we use what we have at our hands and our disposal to create conversations, create movements? And we've been very lucky. We hosted 5 open mic nights in collaboration with the World Sick Organization across Canada. And one of them was in Montreal. So, dope. And that's where we kind of dive into this stuff with Uproar, man. Like, I was doing my master's at Queen's, and every weekend I'd be gone. I'd be on that Via Rail. I had that youth pass. Yeah. There was not a single weekend that I stayed in Kingston.
Bro, one thing working with you, I'm like, yo, bro, this man's been across Canada doing wild shit. Man's been in Surrey, man's been in all of Alberta. Yeah. Man's been in fucking Montreal. Man's been in Brampton. I was like, yo, this man's out here, bro.
From Scott Road to, to Saga, bro, to Brampton. We know these streets. I honestly love being immersed in Punjabi culture. Yeah. So when I'm in Surrey, when I'm in Brampton, I just feel like I'm at home. Mm-hmm. And I spent my last semester of my master's in Kingston, which is, the landscape out here. It's 3 hours away. Yeah, right? It's far, man. I spent my last semester living in Brampton, commuting to Kingston.
Those jokes, bro. That's the next
I don't know a
shit.
single person that would do that. That would do schooling like 3 hours away. I would take a bus, train, like go transit, and then I'd switch to go to Union. I'd switch to Via Rail, and I'd take a long ass train all the way to school.
That's wild, bro. That's so wild.
Just so I could live in Brampton.
I used to complain about going to Ryerson, bro. Taking the fucking GO train there. And you're out here fucking doing a whole ass commute, bro.
Yo, bro, it's a whole journey. You come back a changed banda. You go through a whole journey on your way back.
But man, let's dive into the Prame organization in Calgary, man. Big ups to you guys, man. You guys threw a hell of an event because I was there for the review, the premiere of the director's cut. And man, hell of an event, man. You guys have good team out there, man. You guys work hard, man. That's a good shit right there. But man, moving on from that and now going into Uproar, the documentary we're working on. So the Uproar documentary, well, I'll talk about it, but I'll go straight into it. tell us a little bit about Uproar and Bill 21.
So Uproar, which is our feature documentary, came about just being on the East Coast. I felt like an outsider to Montreal,
Yeah.
right? Like we're viewing these issues boil up from an outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go there. I wanted to go dive into it. I would end up at the rallies, the protests, whenever I could. I didn't get a chance to go there all the time, but whenever I did, I try to connect with the community there, see who's on the ground working on these issues. And so that's just kind of my nature. Like I try to connect and really connect to the root of the problem, the issues, and try to see what's really happening here, right? Like we hear so much noise in the news, right? Media is always on top of this. It was plastered in the national debate. You couldn't stop hearing about Bill 21 at a certain point. Like it's crazy to think about now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Because 2020 has been a whirlwind of a year. To think there was a moment where this was just the main thing being talked about is kind of crazy. But yeah, we linked up here in Brampton.
Yeah.
And I hit you up and I was like, man, this guy doesn't know who I am, but I seen his work. This guy's killing it. I need him to be on par with this vision. Like, let's make this happen. And after that, I think it's history.
Connected, man. We got connected from there. So we got connected. We met up in Toronto. We did like a whole meeting where we just discussed the whole idea and all that.
Yeah.
And from that moment, man, I was like, yo, you know what? Me being from Brampton, not knowing too much about all that, like all the Bill 21 stuff, it's easy to ignore when you're outside of those communities because it's not really affecting you. And especially me being from Brampton, I'm like, yo, I've never really had to deal with a lot of racism. Like, I've probably dealt with a little bit, like playing hockey and stuff like that. But other than that, like in schools and stuff, nah, man, not really, right?
Like the government's never told us you can't be a police officer.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
So it's like, yo, like that's a blessing. So I'm like, I really didn't have that kind of experience. And like, then like actually, like I'm like, yo, you know what? This would be a good idea to just dive into this and do something that can actually make a change, right?
Yeah.
So obviously working on that, man, it was a hell of, like, it was an eye opener, man, for me, especially like that journey. Other than that, the whole journey we had, like the whole travel thing, like, that was dope.
That was lit.
We had a fun time, man. we did Brampton, Vancouver, Calgary. We did Montreal.
Like 4 or 5 cities.
We spent a lot of time together for like a solid month and a half.
Fueled by Beyond Meat. How many times we have Beyond Meat? Bro. Aloe vera juice.
Aloe vera juice. Beyond Meat. Next level shit.
Honestly, in the credits section of this movie at the end, we're going to put thank you to Beyond Meat, aloe vera.
Facts, bro. Facts.
Supplied by Walmart.
But man, like even with the whole issue of like Uproar, like we're talking about like the Bill 21 stuff. We're following the story of Amrit.
Yeah.
Right. Initially, right, following that, and just for me personally, like going through this whole journey, like especially when we're in Montreal and actually just talking to the people of the community, speaking about it, and like how messed up all of this really is. It really opens your eyes. Like, yo, we're in Canada, and this stuff is happening here in Canada, and like. We're not too far away from Montreal, bro. It takes us 5 hours to get there.
It's right there.
Right? So it's like, in like 4.5 hours, 5 hours from here, you're going to have a completely different landscape where people, like, we're talking to some friends there, man. They're telling us they face racism openly in the public.
Like, daily.
Yeah.
It's like a common occurrence. Mm-hmm. They're on the bus. They're on the train. And it's all these microaggression incidents that take place. Yeah. And it's always like, you can feel it. It's there. And man, when we hear about these stories where they're on the train, they're getting slurs yelled at them and all this, I'm like, man, that abuse is abuse. We got to call it that. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's abuse. Emotional. It's like, it's violent. It's culturally violent. Like there's so much layers to this that you're being like suppressed constantly, right? Like wearing the star in Quebec and going out every single day is a constant struggle. Every single day. When you leave your house to coming back. Not to say that these incidents don't take place in other places in Canada.
They 100% definitely do. In Toronto too. Like they happen here too, but like the amount of times it happens. Yeah. Right? Like in Toronto, it's like more people are open to it. Like there's a lot of us here.
Yeah. It's just accelerated there. Yeah. I feel like because the government straight up said this is like they're allowing it. They're allowing it, these conversations to spread and take place. They're giving it validity, right? And then when they bring these bills out, when they say like you can't have religious symbols and this and that, it demonizes it, and people feel like it's okay now. Well, it's not me saying it, it's the law. Like follow the law. It's easy to default onto that, right? 100%. So
like, if there's specific people that truly believe in that, like oh, they don't want any immigrants being in position, because this bill specifically targets people in position of power, right?
Yeah.
You can't be a teacher. You can't be a police officer. What else you can do? You can't be like a judge?
Judge.
Right?
Yeah. Public prosecutor.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So these public sector jobs, right, that literally these jobs serve the public.
Yeah.
Right? You're a public servant in these jobs. You're not able to do it because what? Because you visibly look different? Or you're wearing
You're
like a bug or
visibly
something?
expressing your faith.
Yeah.
Compared to that other police officer that might not be visibly expressing it, but might have more faith than you.
Yeah.
So what is the measurement that you're using here
Yeah.
to you know, like, and then that's the sad part in all this, is that the people that are facing the blunt of this are racialized communities. Through in and out, call it what it is, call it by, like, it is racialized communities that express their faith visibly that are getting the blunt of this law. Straight up. There's no other way around it.
And the thing is, like we've heard arguments from people saying, like, oh, like, we don't want people to, like, mainly they're scared of,
Yeah.
I think it's mostly just a racism thing, but like their excuse is though they don't want people to push their religion onto one another.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want a sick teacher with the distort on teaching their kids.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid that they're becoming sick, or
We
they're
could
going to
flip
be forced.
we could flip that argument
Yeah.
and be like, your whiteness is gonna turn my kid white.
Yeah.
I'm scared that your whiteness and your whatever is gonna whitewash my culture and community and turn my kids into, you know, and the argument goes both ways. It's honestly, I think people are scared of what they don't know, what they don't understand. And if there was like a deeper look into the issues here, like, we really got to reflect who's been in power in Quebec for the last 100 years. It's been white men, Christian white men, or atheist
And the
white
crazy
men.
part, I find it all, like, they're trying to get rid of anything like religious or what. They don't want it to influence law. They don't want it to influence the way people are enforcing law, right?
Right.
For police officers in specific, they don't want
Right.
religion or any of these things to dictate the way you enforce that law onto others.
Right.
Which makes no sense at all, right? And then at the same time, Quebec's culture is so ingrained with Christianity, a
Right.
religion itself.
Right.
But then you could say easily that atheism is a religion itself as well.
Right.
If you're not believing in any kind of
Right.
religion, that's a belief,
Right.
right? Religion is a belief at the end of the day. So being an atheist is also a belief. So it made no sense. We were talking about this throughout the whole journey,
The
bro.
whole
Like,
time.
we're in Montreal, and I'm like, yo, it doesn't make sense. Their streets are named after popes and
Yeah.
like religious members, right?
Massive monuments, buildings, which is fine, right? If you want to acknowledge and accept, like, this is, but then understand that that is not the one only perspective that's there, right? Like, if you're going to have these streets, you're going to have these churches, then when you're wanting to be a society that's a melting pot or mosaic, like that accepts all cultures and people for who they are, you gotta accept them for who they are then.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a two-way street. We can't have it where we're accepting your culture, your language, who you are as an individual. I don't even want to make this discussion of othering or you, us and you. It's honestly us.
Yeah.
It's our community. It's our society. And I've had that mentality from day one. Like, people have said, why are you interested in Quebec?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why do you want to come all the way over here and look into our issues and pry into you do your thing over there. But it's interconnected, right? Like, your issues in Quebec affect me as a Canadian. And me seeing my fellow Canadians suffer, it causes me pain. I hate to see my fellow Canadians going through constant just oppression day in, day out, right? And so it's one of those things, man, where, like, you see these people struggling and you see it in the film. It breaks your heart, honestly. It's like, our first interview, just to dive into Uproar, our first interview with Amrit's parents, so emotional.
That was that was the first thing we shot.
The first interview we did, we're choked up. Man's from Brampton, drove all the way to Montreal. We get there, the first place we stop is at Amrit's parents. And it's hella emotional right away.
Right away. And you see that because, like, yo, like, Amrit's situation is like, yo, like, the crazy part, all of this is like, yo, she graduated from Teachers College on the day the bill passed.
Yeah.
That was insane, bro.
Man.
I was like, wow, like, this makes no sense, but it's crazy.
And the way Auntie G was explaining it, man, she was just like, imagine, like, being so excited for your child to be finally getting through university. Like, yo, this is a big pride for immigrant parents.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Their vision when they come here is that, man, I want a better place for my kids. Give them an opportunity to learn, like Canadian university, Canadian education, man, these kids are really getting like a world that we never had.
Yeah.
The same day that they're celebrating her graduation, they're seeing on news that it's finally been passed. It's law now.
Yeah. That's insane.
That's
bro.
devastating. Yeah.
And then the fact that your own child has to move across the country to get a job, right? Like you want to be a teacher because you want to teach youth. You love the process of being around youth, right? You want to teach them. You want to help in the growth process of that, right? You actually have you're not just become a teacher just, oh, I'm going to manipulate people or whatnot, right? That's not your job.
You can see it in her interview.
Yeah, man.
Like when we interviewed Amrit, you see the passion she has for teaching. And like, what's sad is her impact in Quebec is so much more, being that she's Quebecois. She still resonates as a Quebecois. She resonates as a Quebec resident. She speaks the language. She speaks French fluently. And like, she could do world of wonders as a teacher in Quebec. But the one thing that's stopping her is that she's wearing the star.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
That blows my mind, man.
Crazy,
like
because
you have
what makes me different from someone that's not like even like me with my friends, right?
Yeah.
If I have a friend that doesn't wear the star, what makes me different from them? Nothing. We're the same. Maybe it's because we I want to visually show my faith.
Yeah.
Right? Is that it? That small thing is gonna deter me from being in any kind of public service job.
And Quebec has a shortage of teachers.
It's crazy, bro.
Take that in for a second. Your province is struggling, trying to find teachers. Yet you're turning away positive, like amazing teachers that have the potential to like really bring value, education, and like diversity to your youth.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to see it from the government's perspective. Like I don't see these pieces adding up.
And like the thing is it's not like we in the film it may seem like when people see it whenever it does come out. Right now it's obviously pending.
Right.
But you'll see in the film that it's dominantly right now we're talking about the Sikh faith, we're talking about our friends, right? But this affects more than just us. It affects Muslims, it affects Jewish people, it affects other people that also wear some type of religious thing, right? So that's crazy. It's like, yo, the small group of people that it's really affecting, it's like it shouldn't even be relevant, right? It's such a small group.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes you really think, man. It's like, yo, what is it? And then the most absurd thing I've heard then recently is the premier of Quebec saying there's no systematic racism. Bro.
Yeah. That was wild.
Come on, bro. Really? Like,
you gotta be kidding us, bro. He's messing with us at this point, right?
No way.
He's messing with us at this point.
I don't know how he said that with a straight face. I was
like to introduce a law that says a quarter of the people we don't want you in these public sector jobs, and then just flip around, turn around,
unless,
be like, our system isn't racist.
Yeah. Unless you take away your religious symbols and you go to work. But how? One other thing I was thinking about during this whole trip. So they don't want us to wear, or anyone to wear any type of religious symbol, right? So what if I do take my religious symbols off? What if I go to work without a star on, right, and become a police officer? How does that make a difference? If I still believe in my faith and I'm not physically wearing the physical things you see of my faith, how do you know that I'm not gonna do whatever you think I'm gonna do?
And that's disrespectful. Like we interviewed Botej Dillon in this film, and he's a legend.
True G, bro.
He is a true legend,
bro. After that interview, bro, crazy, man. Bro. I felt so motivated. It was insane.
His speech is like Obama-esque. You know what I mean? Like,
tell the people about Botej because I know a lot. Some people may not know.
We'll build him up. So Botej Singh Dillon is a retired RCMP officer now, but he rose to the ranks of inspector, right? And he was the first officer within the RCMP to adjust the policy so he could wear the star and have his beard case and be able to serve in the communities that he served in while keeping his Sikhi intact, right? First officer to ever go through that uphill battle. When he actually first got applied and got in, they actually rejected him, sent him home. And he had to fight this case in Supreme Court. They won. And he went back, and he still went back, trained, became an officer. Phenomenal career, right? And his one exemplary case is like it just shows like he's a Canadian like you and me, right? Yep. Like he, as much as he's a legend, he's just like you and me. Yep. But imagine if they'd have barred him from getting in. Well, let's say that hypothetically that law never changed. He was never there. The amount of people he's come across, the amount of impacts he's had. amount of like perspectives he's changed, the amount of people he was up north in like on all these small towns where there isn't a Sikh, right? And
I'm telling you, we're talking about these small towns in British Columbia,
yeah,
right? Small towns in British Columbia where there's probably no people of color there. You probably have very small amounts.
very
of people
small amount of people, and they probably only seen people of color on TV or radio,
and let
right?
alone like people of color. Like you might see a brown guy there, you might see whatever, right? But a guy with a pug on now, that's like another whole level, right?
Guy with a pug with a. And man, Q in this podcast somewhere, we gotta cue his story. Like I don't even know how we ended up here. Honestly, okay, this whole movie, things have just been falling in place.
Honestly, that's been the blessing. I'm like, someone's really watching over us.
We don't know how this stuff is working. Me and Amrit land in BC. We get a chance to interview Pradeep Nagra, who's from Ontario.
Yeah.
But we interview in BC.
Yeah.
He's not even from there.
Yeah.
We by the off chance catch him there, while he has all these like historical references with him.
I can't
like he's
wait
there,
to show that,
man. He's there presenting on with all these. We catch him there. After his interview, he's like, "Man, I'm gonna go to this event where Sajjan, Harjeet, and like and Harjeet Sajjan and Baltesh Dillon, all these guys are gonna be there. So you guys could probably catch him and see what they think." I'm like, man, what?
Bro, I'm like,
What are the chances?
All right, we're going right now.
I'm like, let's go. And finesse our way to the event, get past the front desk, get inside, and we're just, man, like just that whole vibe, seeing him there, he's the keynote speaker. And then he drops this story where he's in Quesnel, Alberta. Like he's in Quesnel, small town, and there's these two people that are there. Like there was like a warrant, like not a warrant. There was like a hit out for him, like money and like oh man.
That's a clip that didn't make the movie, but I'll definitely put it like right now.
Clip it here.
Right now. So just listen to this.
Town of Quesnel. Very soon after I got there was this rumor, story, word getting around that if someone could knock that Hindu guy's turban off, that Hindu RCMP's turban off, and bring it to a bar, they would be rewarded with $5,000. Now, in 1991, that's a lot of money. So, this got around, and there was actually a reporter that came to town to find out where this $5,000 was. But I got to tell you, there was one evening, as I was on patrol, I came across these two men who had just recently visited one of the very high-class establishments in Quesnel, the Billy Barker, and had their fill of the ale there, and were feeling pretty good. There was some liquid courage, and they saw the Hindu RCMP officer coming up, because I was doing my duty that night. I was on patrol. And they came up to me and said, "Hey, do you know that if we knock your turban off and take it to the bar, we're going to get $5,000? And I said to them, "Well, you could try. But I'll guarantee you this. One of you is not going to make it home tonight." And I can't promise what's going to happen to the other. Well, after a short conversation, I said to him, I've got a better idea. Why don't we, tomorrow, get together, go over to the local clothing shop, buy ourselves some blue cloth, and we'll all go and claim the prize. And I said, that was a pretty good idea. So I got them to get into the back of my police car. I gave them accommodations for the evening. Even made sure they had cold waffles in the morning. And away we went.
Alright guys, I hope you guys just watched that clip. Legendary clip. I wanted to put it in the film, but we just didn't find a spot to put it in. But
gives me goosebumps, man,
bro,
honestly.
It's an insane story. When I was hearing it, I was like, damn.
Imagine being the one sole person of color, racialized person that's now in a position of authority and taking your job so seriously, and people still aren't taking you seriously. that level of like, man, like what does it really take then, right?
Yeah.
You have a Singh in a RCMP uniform and people are still mocking you, still going to these lengths of like, man, we're going to get this guy. And at the time, there's no social media, but like hundreds of thousands of petitions and protests. Why are you so upset?
The crazy
what are
part,
people so mad about?
Like, well, yo, people will see it in the film, man. Like the pins.
Oh, man.
Bro, when I saw that, I couldn't believe. Like honestly, like I don't know if I was just being naive or something, but I was like, I just couldn't believe that people. Though you know what killed me the most? So these are racist ass pins, right?
Yeah.
And you're telling me they're funded by the government? Were they funded by the government?
Can't remember. Where did we come across that? I think we were talking to someone who was saying that was
Someone
funded.
I don't know how
like
true
a political
that is.
party behind it.
So there may not
like
be any
political
truth
movements.
to that. So we're not gonna start.
I'm not gonna get into that.
But these are racist ass pins. The thing that caught me off guard the most, the quality.
Yeah.
They're such good
They're
quality,
like
bro.
sick pins, bro. Like, had I not seen what they said, I'm rocking that pin.
Bro, I'm like, yo, this is a good quality pin. I'm like, nowadays you have like these plastic pins that are made on the spot, right?
Metal pin.
Bro, metal and
Colored.
It's like engraved. I'm like,
That
bruh.
picture of that Singh, man. That like the good
Yo,
quality picture, man.
Bro, I'm like, yo, the quality in these pins, man. Holy, like you must really hate this right now. Like I'm like,
They had like calendars with like
Bro.
go back camel jackies and like, bro, like keeping a tab on everyone throughout the year.
So there's these pins, man. You guys will see in the documentary, but it's like, yo, these pins just saying no bugs, like it'll say like no turban, in the RCMP.
Yeah,
like, there's
keep the RCMP
photo
Canadian.
of like the animated photo of a Singh, and there's an X.
Yeah, straight
That's
cut. They cut.
insane,
They could put
bro.
a mark through.
And I'm like, bro, and this is not far. This is not long ago.
It's not that long
late
ago.
Late 80s,
Yeah, late 80s,
bro.
early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s. This is when my parents, like people in my, like there's immigrants coming into
that
Canada
came here
that time,
around that time.
right? Especially during
Yeah.
that time, and it's like, yo, you take that in. It's not far.
It's not that long
It's
ago.
only 30 years, bro. Like that's not far.
It's not that far away.
It's insane, man. It's insane. And you think about it, it's like, yo, no way like that kind of racism is gone. It's just been suppressed.
Yeah.
So there's people out there that still feel that way. It's insane, bro. The fact that he fought through that and all that, it's crazy, bro.
Let's jump into our interview where we got someone who was supporting Bill 21. What were your thoughts? Like, what were you going through? Because I was interviewing him, right?
Yeah.
I want to know what you were thinking while we were
Bro,
going through that.
Okay, honestly, like, so this guy, so we needed, like, for this film to be the way we wanted it, we needed to get perspective from the other side. Because obviously we're against the bill. We can't just make a film with everybody against it. We need someone that's for it, right?
Right.
To just get that perspective. So I was really, honestly, I was very curious to know what he was going to say, right? Like, I was going into that interview with a very open mind. I was like, yo, I'm going to keep a very open mind and try to understand where he's coming from,
Yeah.
right? Just to really, like, try to put myself in his shoes, right? And, like, yo, it just felt like he didn't know what he was saying, bro. Like,
He was a bit conflicted himself.
he was very conflicted himself because he kept on, like, he would say things and then he would go back to saying,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know.
I'll give him
I
this,
don't know.
though. It's a lot of pressure.
A lot
To
of
be interviewed by two Singhs.
two Singhs sitting right across him and he's talking about
6'1"
this guy.
and 6'4".
Bro.
Two Singhs sitting across from
The
him.
fact that he's sitting across us and he's talking about the bill and why he's
With
for
us.
it.
So mad respect.
That takes some balls, bro.
I respect that.
Takes some
Yeah.
balls,
I
man.
respect that he took the time to interview with
Bro,
us.
and then the thing is, like, he said some foul shit. Like, he didn't say it directly. Like, he didn't say any foul things directly. He said very indirectly. Like, I don't think he meant to say him that way.
Yeah.
He meant to be.
Yeah.
He was trying to be very, like, liberal about the
Politically
things he's saying,
correct,
right?
I think,
Politically
yeah.
correct. But sometimes his words just, they like, when you really just sit back and think about it, it's like, holy shit, what the fuck did you just say? Right? It's like-
Yeah, 'cause, yo, he started off like, man, I want to talk to you guys because I don't want to. I don't want this notion in the rest of Canada that Quebec's xenophobic and racist. And I was like, all right, let's see what he's gonna go with here, right? But then there was a point where we include this in the film where he was like, man, I wish we gotten this done with like 50 years ago.
Bro, I'm like, wait, that's
I'm
like,
like, what?
saying, like, that's crazy. It's like, yo, because I was just like, that's insane, bro.
Yeah.
Right? That's just like absurd comment.
It doesn't change the problem though, right? Like you would still
It's
have
like
immigrants.
saying, it's like saying, yo, there's these specific type of people today we're fighting against. They're being targets or whatever. We should have just got rid of them 30 years ago. I'm like, bruh. Like, he's saying that,
Yeah.
right? In the terms of the bill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, what the hell?
Yeah. And then the funniest thing was like I'm trying to understand it throughout this whole thing, right? I'm trying to put these pieces together and And honestly, I felt like there was a couple moments where he was like, if there was something that changed my mind, it'd be this. If there was something, and we kind of got into the nitty gritties.
And the thing is, he was letting us know too. He's saying like his political views are very left, so he's an NDP supporter, which made no sense to me at that point. I'm like, wait, you're an NDP supporter?
Yeah, I can't remember. Did he say he was? I don't know. He said he was.
He was saying he's more.
He leaned left for sure.
He leans towards the left.
Or he was progressive.
So I'm like,
Progressive
okay, got it. But again, like, I don't think he was like, he may have been racist, but the way he was saying things, it may seem like he was very conflicted or maybe very brainwashed.
Yeah, and
by
like
media or something, bro.
Or there was something going on where he wanted this secularism kind of state so bad.
Yeah.
That it was like whatever means necessary, right? And if that meant let's get rid of this and let's get rid of that, and it was a couple of those interactions back and forth with him that I had where it was like, he was like, I understand we're gonna have some bad moments and there's some negative aspects of this bill that unfairly target some people, but he was like,
he was basically saying, we're willing to sacrifice a few people for the better good of everyone. Whoa, bro, come on, man. Like, you sacrificing a small group of people for the betterment of others is not the betterment for the other people.
Yeah, and it was just that one point where I was just like, yo, I wonder, like, it's got to be a common perspective though, right? Like, there's got to be a lot more people that think like this.
For him, it feels like he can kind of be persuaded. He seemed like I felt like if we talked to him for another hour or two, he could have persuaded him.
Yeah, he was working with us. Like, we were kind of hitting him back and forth. And I hit him with this example of like, yo, let's say a judge is such a hardcore Montreal fan, right? Like a hardcore Montreal Habs fan. Hockey fans are crazy, by the way. Yeah. Like, you know this for a fact. Let's say this judge is a Habs fan, and his client or whoever walks in, has a Toronto Maple Leafs like hat or something, right? Yeah. And just sees that hat or that symbol or something, like, man, I hate this guy so much. This is all hypothetical, by the way, but I hate that guy so much. I'm not judging in his favor. Yeah. That could be anybody. Now, all of a sudden, how are you going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you judging that this person in power isn't using their faith and beliefs to rule and judge? Yeah. And now all of a sudden this is the benchmark that we're gonna stop at religious symbols and that's it. Yeah. We're next, bro, because this is a big issue, and that's why we're like, let's sit down about it. Like, let's talk about it, and that's why this might be the first of many series, first of many films or whatever, and we might spark the next kid to go out there and go look at these issues. But man, like, why this is now like, and then that satisfies you, right? That's where I kind of got him a bit. I was like, yo, man, like, that's it, like religious symbols, and then that's it. That's where, like, now unequivocally you have no bias, and that everyone is
no religious bias, nothing.
and you're just you're looking at the law unbiasedly, and you're delivering it in a fair, just way.
You're literally delivering the law based on the law. The education is based on the education. Like,
and the one thing stopping it was religious symbols, and now you're good.
I mean, like, the rest of the country, they don't have anything like this. There's people of color in a lot of positions of power with religious symbols that are doing just fine in other parts of the country.
Balwinder Kaur Shergill is a Supreme Court judge in BC, right, in the BC circuit. Baltair Singh Tilno, RCMP officer, public prosecutors, lawyers. There's countless amount of times you can go in.
The biggest one is NDP. You have Jagmeet Singh, like the biggest visible person.
He's a party leader. But I want people to take a step back here and really look at this then. So if you're telling me that simply because this guy has a bug on or whatever, that he's now like gonna enforce that on everyone, like and if it's just him being there is gonna enforce it, like, how do you think people of color feel when they constantly see white police?
Yeah, man. It's the same thing. Like we're talking about this. This is a bill that's affected a small group of people. Now you go into other problems around the world with racism. Yeah. Right. It's the same thing.
Now it's an elevated discussion, right? Because this is a microcosm now. We're looking in one section of Canada. Yeah. We're just within Quebec.
When you look on a broader scale, it's like, oh shit, this shit's happening everywhere.
It's pretty prevalent.
It's happening everywhere, bro.
And we're seeing it now with Black Lives Matter, anti-Black racism. Mm-hmm. People are trying to have a conversation about it, trying to bring it up. Yeah. And like, you read some of these comments, bro, I'm honestly like, I know you shouldn't get into like the depths of internet and people with anonymity. Like,
but yo, the internet, the thing is, like with Twitter and all these things. When you look at these tweets and these comments, it just shows you the amount of people that believe this kind of stuff, that have those kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. So like, even for example, like, bro, like, unfortunately, like a week ago, an accident happened in Brampton, right?
Right.
Killed a whole family. Like, it's terrible accident happened. And right away, people were assuming, oh, it's a brown driver.
Right.
It's probably a Punjabi driver. Oh, Punjabi's this. Brown people are like this. Oh, Brampton's like this. I'll never drive. So many racist remarks towards Brampton. It was insane. And I hate when that kind of stuff happens.
There was even a report that came out that got retracted.
Yeah. And the thing is, understand, the driver was actually white. And nothing. No media attention. Nothing at all.
It dies quick.
And then next thing you know, CP24, you look at the tweets underneath, no one's talking anything. But when it was before, when they had no information, the amount of racist remarks, and you can even talk about that with other kind of news in the world. It doesn't have to just be here. It could be in the States or whatnot. The amount of people that are against just basic human rights, bro.
Yeah.
Like thinking about like a black person. You're being racist towards a black person. But like, who did I choose to be brown? Right? Did you choose to be brown? No. We're all the same though, right? So why? Like, I don't understand like where that mentality comes from. I don't know if it's the lack of education or the lack of open-mindedness.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it just makes you think. It's like, yo, bro, end of the day, we're all the same, man. We could do the same thing. We're capable of doing the same things, right? We're capable of helping one another.
Yeah.
Right? It's just absurd, bro, to me.
And like the conversations that are going now, they're like, people can't even accept that there's systemic discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
That these systems that we've created are biased and hindering people from just solely based on their race and gender.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't even agree on that there's an issue, that's like the first step, bro. Like that's what blows my mind, that we can't even come to a term of agreement that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even like fathom like what the next steps would even be, right? So that's why when I see people in uproar, when I see people like tossing, throwing, loot, like all this stuff, like I'm seeing it. Like if people are very frustrated and upset, I can understand why, right? Like you've been through countless amount of peaceful protests and petitions and so on, and you're restless. You're at a point where, man, that shit isn't making change anymore.
Honestly.
So and anyone that says like, like violence and you're tarnishing and destroying, blah, that makes sense. Okay, I see where you're coming from. But if you can get so riled up about some random person's property being destroyed, how come we can't get so riled up about racism?
And the fact is that it had to get to that point for you to even just think about this.
Yeah.
Because it's been ignored, but until property is being destroyed, obviously there's wrong to that, right? We're not
endorsing that people should be like just destroying and violent and people like, we're saying take a step back and take a look at it. Yeah. Why is it at that point? Exactly. Right? Like, why did it get to this point, this like melting, boiling point? And there's been like years and years and years of this going on. And the most interesting part about all this is that there was a space and time for it to flourish and this movement to come out, because we didn't have NHL, we didn't have NBA, we didn't have sports, we didn't have entertainment. Hollywood was on lockdown, COVID hit, and there was a moment where nothing was moving. Mm-hmm. And I realized, like, man, even me, I'm guilty of this. Day-to-day blinders on, with like we're kind of lulled into this false sense of like entertainment, kind of muted, right? Mm-hmm. And like you don't really realize what's going on, what's not. You barely have enough. You do your 9 to 5, you come home, you're refreshed for the next day. You maybe have at most hour to 2 hours to really spend on something, and it's like you, on the off chance you might spend it on Twitter for 15 minutes, might spend it somewhere else, might spend it on advocacy in some of these avenues. But that's what I was super amped about, was that throughout this entire time, it gave people a chance to really, really put these movements out there and get behind them and really launch some of these ideas and concepts, because it's long overdue, man. Honestly. Like the fact that we're still chanting and yelling about this in 2020 is like, it's hard to fathom. Like we're still like, this is still the uphill battle. Mm-hmm. We're still struggling. This is where we're at still.
You wonder what would really, like, change doesn't come overnight.
No.
It takes time, right? So it's like, how would those kind of changes happen? I feel like the thing is with like human history, when you even go way back into history, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always been an issue.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you solve an issue that's been existing ever since you can remember.
Right. And like I would say, like even in Quebec right now with Uproar, why it was so important. Think about where change gets made. It's in these positions of power.
Yep.
You need power and influence to make changes. And if you're already barred from if you're not even meeting the requirements to get in, you can't be shouting from outside and trying to make change. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking like, yo, get a list of how many Quebec MPs and MLAs are A, from racialized communities, B, wear a religious symbol or physical form. I'm guaranteeing you it's not that many.
I'll be surprised if you can find one.
And that's the thing, right? Like the politicians, the parties, the judges, the people that are administering the law, that are creating the law, the policymakers, the people that are running the government, behind the government, the partisan politics, the non-partisan politics, who's all there, right? And that's where I'm like, yo, man, like if you are not seeing this Bill 21, now Law 21, as an issue, as a Canadian on a very fundamental level, then like you're missing, like I don't know what to say, man. Like it's, and like I love when people want to argue freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right? And that's when like they want to openly like argue and battle and challenge. What about this now?
Yep.
Is this still within your definition of freedom of expression, freedom of rights, freedom of speech?
This is right now. Look how I'm dressed. This is freedom of speech. This is freedom of expression. No.
Yeah, and so when you see your fellow Canadians not be able to do that in Quebec, that doesn't irk you. That doesn't strike you as like odd. That maybe like why is this happening, right? Like man, like I'm thinking off the top of my head here, but like, where else do we see this happen though?
Yeah.
Why is it like why? And that's my one thing is like Quebec is a very interesting place. This is why we wanted to dive into it with like we got into the history of it, the Quiet Revolution. Everywhere we're going, we're getting some feedback, some history, and so just to give some context, there's been like deep rooted history in Quebec that is very different than the rest of Canada, right? And we're getting into these issues slowly, and we're seeing them emerge. But me being born in Abbotsford, grew up in Alberta. I don't know what the Quiet Revolution is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I never heard of this in my life. It didn't come up in school, didn't come up in university. And now I'm slowly learning, like, whoa, there's a huge history here. And we're unpacking it slowly. So this is good. I find the film to be an introductory, kind of diving into the issues.
Yep.
We by no means are experts.
Nope.
We never claim to be. But that doesn't take away from my right as a Canadian to be able to use our creative mediums, create a film, create a story. Anybody can do it. Pick up a camera, pick up a mic, go interview people.
For sure. And like being like even with the film, man, like when you brought the idea up, I'm gonna admit, bro, I was one of those people that really didn't look into it. Like I didn't really care. I was like, because like I heard about it here and there, but it wasn't really a big deal out here.
That's a lot of people though, right? Like
and
that's the average person.
Bro. And it's like me, and there's a lot of people that are like in the same position. So actually making myself dive into it and actually learning about it, you understand, bro, like how grateful you really are where you are and not facing these kind of issues. Yeah. Especially being from like such a diverse city like Toronto, Brampton, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't really, you'll face some very odd, like it'll be an odd instance here or there, or there might be some behind the scene racism that's happening, right? We don't know, right? There might be a reason why you didn't get a job. Who knows, right? We can't say. But again, like you don't have that much of a hard time here compared to other parts of the country.
And Amrit mentions that, right? Like we asked her like straight up, why did you choose BC? She's like more progressive governments here, the policies, the people. She saw people that looked like her in the roles that she wanted to be in. How come she can't have that in Quebec?
That's insane, bro.
Right? Like, and me as a child growing up in Calgary, like I had a wide variety of teachers, like so from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, just so diverse, man. Just in the ways they were conservatives, liberals, atheists, not even not political. That gives you a whole world of insights and perspectives growing up.
100% facts. And now that you have kids in Quebec that are only learning from a specific, it's like, yo, you're like, I've had teachers that were Singhs. I've had teachers that wore hijabs. I've had teachers that were that are vocally atheists.
Yeah.
I've had so many different types of teachers, but it's like none of them have ever enforced their religion or their beliefs.
Not once.
Not once.
Ever.
Even the atheist teacher I had once, never. He said his views in the beginning of the semester, said it. That's it.
Because there's rules in place.
Yeah, man.
There's procedures. If you push your faith and belief onto someone unfairly in that relationship of a teacher-student dynamic, you think that teacher's gonna stay?
Yeah.
That teacher getting fired, bro. Like,
100%,
you're not staying
100%.
around too long if you're doing
And
that.
there's a small group of people that might, right? There might be a specific teacher that may have the religious symbol on or whatever and may do that, but they are not for that job.
Yeah.
Clearly, right?
And man, like, that's where I'm like, yo, so much of our learning and everything comes from our teachers. And if your teacher is just from a certain group, is looking like a certain way constantly, for how many years are we in school, bro?
Bro,
Like,
majority of
a
your
long
life.
time, bro. We're in school a long ass time.
Maybe like a whole quarter of your life you're in.
I'm 24, bro. Over half my life I've been in school. Like, I haven't lived, bro. I've been in school.
Real shit. Like, yo, I've been in school since I was like 22, bro. So I'm like, yo, 22 years of my life I was in school.
And that's a constant. You're there every day. You're going to the schools.
And
You're
it
seeing your
forms
teachers.
a big part of your beliefs
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Like on your own, when you're actually exploring yourself, these kind of teachers, as much as you may say they do have an influence on you, bro. They do have an influence on you.
And teachers are such positive role models. Good that you mentioned that, because we should really talk into that. Like, you need someone that you can vibe with. It might not always be that one particular teacher or that whatever. In order to vibe with a teacher, like, I've always vibed well with the Punjabi teachers. When I told them, you know, like, मैं खंड पाठ रखा weekend te.
Yeah.
My white teacher isn't gonna understand what's going on. They don't know the stress behind having cousins come over from like Winnipeg, Vancouver. My house is a zoo. Like, we got like madmans out here. Like, we're a house packed with 100 people.
Yeah.
I can't get the assignment done. Right? Like, there's a wedding coming up. Like, they know how massive Punjabi wedding is.
Yeah.
Like, that person that's not Punjabi isn't gonna understand that, right? That's why when you're looking towards mentors, shared lived experiences is so important. Someone that's been through it, that sees it from your angle. And we see it constantly in mental health, in other spaces where you're trying to find someone that's a good fit for you as a counselor, as a psychiatrist, as someone that can guide you and really help you. It's someone that can really, really feel your perspective, right? It's one thing to try to understand about a culture, and it's another to actually come from the culture.
Yeah.
That's day and night. I hope people can understand that. Like, it's okay to try to learn about other cultures and try to provide the best holistic service you can possibly administer. But sometimes you just need that person that understands you, comes from, like, grew up the way you did, went through like some of the similar experiences that you did, and you just vibe with that, you resonate with that. Think about all the kids in Quebec now that are Sikh, Muslim, Jewish.
And knowing that they can't do these particular careers.
And not only that, they're not even have a teacher
Yeah, man.
that's going to guide them through it. My teachers made a big difference in my life. They told me about potential careers, what I could do with my life. They looked into my skills, and the ones that really, really cared, like, took the time and effort to be like, man, you're really good at science. Maybe you should pursue this. You really enjoy talking to people. Maybe you should look into this. And like that was like teachers that I would consider my mentors and my guidance, and I wouldn't be here where I am today without my teachers, right? So to think about all these kids in Quebec you're going to go through all 13 years of your education without a single person that has a religious symbol. Like, are you kidding me?
It's insane, bro. And think about the people, like think about even the kids that are in school, bro. Maybe there's one kid that does have religious symbol. Maybe he has a judo or has a hijab, right? The kid has a hijab. Bro, knowing that, yo, I really enjoy, like, they see their teachers teaching and they truly enjoy that and they want to be that.
Yeah.
Because, yo, when we were in school, there's a lot of kids that wanted to be teachers, bro.
100%.
A lot of kids that wanted to be teachers. Knowing that one kid is going to know, yo, I can't be it because the way I look. Bro, come on, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That itself is causing damage to that kid.
I can't even believe that we're arguing about this.
Bro, that's the insane part. I'm like, why? Like, we're in 2020.
How are we arguing about the benefits of having diversity and people of color and racialized communities? And honestly, like, if you're saying that you can still have racialized communities without by cutting a chunk of these people with religious symbols, man, like you're I don't understand how people make the argument.
Even like, bro, even the fact that these people don't want like when it comes to teachers, they don't want their kids to be influenced or be taught in a way where these certain religions have some type of impact on them, right? They don't want that,
Right.
But like, isn't the whole point of all of this, like, even like, first of all, no teacher is gonna do that, right? Second of all, religion mostly, like, people use it as a belief system, as a way of life, right? Use it as a way of life. And when you think about it, a lot of religions are very similar, bro. They're all really just basic on the basics of it.
Yeah,
they're all the same, right? They may have some differences, right, in the way you look or the way they carry on or how they do the ceremonies or whatever, right? But the basics, a lot of the basics are the same.
Yeah.
Right. So even that, like, I understand. I'm like, even when I'm a kid, I don't want to be enforced anything, but I want to be more exploring myself.
Right.
You want to be exploring, even if I'm not a Sikh, right? If I'm not a Sikh and I find Sikh values valuable, or if I even see a Sikh teacher in my school, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be curious, and maybe I'll do some research on my own, right?
Right.
And maybe I want to explore that myself, right? Like right now, I've been reading into a lot of religions myself. It doesn't make me, I associate myself with this religion, but you kind of just go into every religion and you learn very important things from other beliefs, right?
Yeah,
big time. So that part is also lost, and it just makes no sense, bro. Because like what makes you like, I don't know, bro. I just can't. It doesn't like make sense in my brain.
And in Canadian society today, you can't be putting people into boxes. It's not a check mark.
Yeah, man.
Symbol, no symbol. Person of color, not person of color, check this, check that. It's not how it works. It doesn't fit, right? I don't know what the perfect system is. We haven't got to that point yet, but it for sure as hell is on this.
Bro, like for me, I just like, as simple as I can say it, and it may be very hard to do. Like, just accept everyone the way they are.
Yeah.
Bro, how hard is that? Like, how hard can that really be to just accept people the way they are and trusting and just knowing that whatever profession you're trying to be, if you're a singer and you're trying to be a police officer, he's taking an oath, right? He's taking an oath to follow the law.
Yeah.
And all he's going to be doing is enforcing the law. He's not going to be enforcing Sikhi, or he's not going to be saying other things, right? He's enforcing the law, his job. Same thing with the teacher. If I'm a Sikh teacher, and I'm teaching science, my job is to teach science. Right. So how, like, I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense.
And man,
because it could be anyone at that point. Yeah. I don't even have to have a religious symbol, bro. And like, I can have an influence from something else.
And let me make this relatable for anybody. We're talking about our multiple identities because we identify as Sikh, male, Punjabi, Canadian. That could be, rearrange those 4 or 5 to be anything else. That's what you're trying to manifest, right? You can be from whatever gender, whatever race, whatever. These are not mutually exclusive things. I can be a Canadian. I can be a Quebecer. I can be all these things and still be proud about having a Dada. These are my multiple identities that I identify with, right? There's layers to who we are as people. It's not as simple as black and white and simple as race and just one thing or whatever, just religious symbols, right? We have a deep layer of history for why we wear the star, why we have a Dada, what our principles are as a Sikh, who we are as a people from Punjab, what our region is about, where our history comes from. And a lot of people are passionate about that. And I think that's a point that a lot of people that overlook this bill are missing. People come from all parts of the world with deep rooted histories. They're passionate about it. There's a reason why they're so into why they manifest their faith, why they manifest themselves as an outwardly religious symbol or whatever you want to term it. And that's another problem, bro. We have all these terms that we don't actually fit with it. Religion, religious symbols. These are all English words from a Western concepts that it's a box that we're trying to fit in. My Dastar is not a religious symbol. It's a deep cultural thing that it spans across Sikhi. It's not even just Sikhs that had a turban, right? Like kings and emperors had turban. Turban was a sign of royalty. There's so much more to it. The fact that it's being dumbed down and watered down to this point where we're doing these checkbox of religious symbols, this and that, it's cultural violence is what it is at the end of the day, right? We're seeing, honestly, all this cultural violence where we're dumbing down and trying to fit into this Western paradox of this is what a religion is, this is what a religious symbol is. And honestly, I feel like people of color and racialized communities oftentimes do this just to meet halfway, get some middle ground, that's the problem there, right? Is that like we're trying our very best to assimilate, get into these Canadian societies and be able to become mainstream and be able to live with one another. The amount of effort that people of color and racialized communities put in to be accepted and come to Canada and be a part of these communities is unmatched.
Yeah. And the fact that this whole country is based on immigration, bro.
Facts.
No one's original except for the Aboriginals. You go really back and you think about it, like no one. It's no one's country.
Indigenous peoples were here first, unceded lands where
destroyed them
so
too,
many
bro.
places where treaties weren't even signed, nothing was said. Here's our land. This is ours now. Do you want 100 years, 200 years later, you want to buy it back?
It's crazy, bro. Like, honestly.
Let me sell it back to you, bro.
Throughout this whole time, like, just reading into these kind of things, and you just really just think about it for a second. Like, bro,
Yeah.
what happened hundreds of years ago? Like, this is nobody's land, bro. Like,
these issues are so intermittent.
But to finish off this entire podcast, Uproar, bro. When can people expect to see this? I mean, like the whole Corona thing kind of destroyed everything.
Yeah,
for
I
us.
did.
Like,
Man, we had a whole let me drop this for the podcast. Some inside scoop only here. If you made it this far in the podcast, mad respect because you're 50 minutes in deep. So
might be less,
you deserve some of these insider what me and Amrit were working on. We had every city lined up from Montreal to Vancouver. We had every major city lined up with shout out to everybody that was helping out with this.
Shout out to the entire
20, 30 people, across Canada that were helping
man.
us get venues, get people, start promoting, sell tickets. And we had every city lined up. We were going to have postcards from Montreal signed with people in Montreal where they wrote down their experiences with racism and discrimination and took them city to city to city and had people just add on and add on and add on. And you know what I still don't doubt is that by the end of that tour, we'd have had hundreds of postcards. We'd have been blasted with how much discrimination, how much racism people face. To this date in Canada, how much racism people face. And that was going to be powerful. And I wanted to see that flourish, but got hit by COVID-19 and that kind of got sidelined. So we're seeing if we can kind of throw this up online, if we can figure out a way to stream it or figure out another way to how to put it out there.
If there's a few people that are here and want to see the documentary, let us know, man, where you guys want to see it. I would ideally want to do a premiere again. Like that whole idea, the concept of doing a premiere would have been dope. Like we had like it was gonna be bigger than the premiere. Like we're gonna have talks and all that.
Yeah,
like, it was gonna be dope. But I mean, things happen for a reason, right?
Like we showed a director's cut in Calgary.
Yeah, man, that was mad fun.
It was lit.
And that felt good, bro. Like honestly, all your hard work.
It was like a quarter of the documentary, not even.
Man.
And
like
people were amped. Like, man, how many questions we get? We didn't have time to answer everyone's questions.
I felt like we felt like celebrities after, bro.
Man,
like,
that was
a lot of people want to talk to us about that film.
The amount of energy in that room was crazy. There was like so many. I know what I loved was so many young people there. Young kids were like, "This is insane! Like, why? I didn't even know this was happening to this level, to this extent. This is what's happening. Like, so much of this, like, we kind of assume like, oh, like everybody probably knows this.
Yeah.
But when you kind of dive into these issues, you see like, man, like, there's a lot of people out there that kind of miss these few things in between, and all they've seen is just the news and media side of things, and that is white noise. Honestly, what I honestly have seen with our work so far is that we really dive into it with real people, real Canadians. Everyone that you're seeing in this film, we're coming across from like just being referred from one person to another. We're coming across them and just on the streets, we're just meeting up with them. Like there's some kind of way that we're like catching up with them, but we didn't really know any of them before this film, right? Maybe a few people we might had a contact in Montreal with, but it's just a snowball effect where we got a chance to really talk to Montreal folks, people in Quebec that are seeing this firsthand there, and it's interesting to see their perspectives, and then how us as filmmakers were coming up from an outsider's perspective and putting this all together.
Man, definitely one of the best experiences I probably went through in my life. Like just learning first of all, learning all of this stuff, learning history behind even our own people and their immigration the first time they came to Canada. Like, learned a lot of stuff, man. Like,
we did.
And like meeting up with one of our friends that been a Canadian for 100 years. Like, his family.
That was insane.
Like, there's so much stuff that I just can't wait for you guys to see in the documentary.
Man, we were wrapped up. Me and Amrit were in the car, about to go home. This man's drops like, oh yeah, by the way, my pradada came here in 1809. What?
At that moment, like, so like, we're interviewing one of our friends, and he says that when we're done the interview. I'm like, bro, hold up. Let's get the fuck back inside right now.
I'm friends with him for like 3 years. Like, how did I not know this? This guy rips out passport from 1940.
Bro, the original passport.
Original, like laminated original passport from 1940.
First passports issued by the Canadian government. I was like,
first passports ever given.
History. You didn't tell us this before. We had to scrap everything he said before that.
This guy has like family photos from back in the day. Does on the mills, chopping down trees, down the railways.
Insane, man.
We're literally seeing Canada being built right before us through his pictures. And I'm like, bro, where was, like, what? Honestly, how did we miss this?
Like, again, like, yo, I think all these things just fell in place, man. It was amazing, bro. Like,
honestly, it's been a blessing to see how much of this has just been given to us by the community. Honestly, shout out to everyone that's been supporting us.
Shout out to the community, bro. Without the community, honestly, without the community, we would
community
not be
funding, community support. This project was honestly a community project.
Community project for the community.
That's it. And if we can somehow advance our community in a way where we're more accepting, we're more loving, we're more open and genuine with one another, then this film is a success.
I mean, end of the day, like, these kind of movements or like anything, bro, like someone can take photographs, powerful photographs. Someone can make a film, bro. Someone can have a debate. These things are just going to keep sparking conversation, and we're going to keep doing this until change actually happens, instead of the bullshit that they feed you saying, we'll make change. No, we want change. We don't want you to tell us you're going to make change. We actually want you to do it.
Yeah.
Right? But, man, eye-opening experience, man. Hell of a time. And on top of that, great friendships were made during that trip, especially with this man. Didn't know who the hell he was. By the end of it all, I knew everything about him.
Who's this guy with a white name? Half white.
First of all, saying his name's Steven. What? Hold up. What? But, man, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you coming on to the show.
Thank you.
And hope everyone has a good time. Make sure once Uproar is ready, we'll have it ready for y'all. You'll know where it is. We'll be posting it all over Instagram. We'll probably re-release the trailer and all that. But, man, appreciate you coming on, man. It's a good conversation, and hope we have more, man. Especially with Sagar, bro. We got to get that man on the episode too, bro. Shout out to Sagar.
Yeah, we got to get Sagar on RGB radio. That's the one thing that's, by the end of 2020, 2021, whenever this COVID stuff is over, we're getting Sagar on the podcast.
100%, bro. All right, man. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.